Hey, hey guys, let's see what Spirit has to say. We're working on messages from our ancestors. It is Halloween season. The veil is very thin, so let's see what our Halloween oracle has to say. All right, we got a card out. Cauldron, synergy, and healing. What else do we have? So are you dealing with some type of a medical issue right now? Or are you healing your heart right now because of a breakup? Are you healing your ego because maybe of a job loss or some type of loss in general? Like, what's going on here? Did someone pass away and you're going through grief right now? Okay, that was kind of a sloppy shuffle. All right, what else do we have here, Spirit? What is it that we're healing? All right, we got two cards out. Lady de los Muertos, acceptance and equality. Day of the Dead. And we're coming up on that midnight, the most magical hour of all. And bottom of the deck, what do we got? Werewolf, exploring wildness. I want to read that one. The werewolf. It says, luminosity triggers it. A wild moon rises. Pain and blood and fangs, fur and howling and woven guises. After a painful, excruciating, bone-jarring struggle against the change, the man releases to the magic. Howling unrestrained under the full moon, now the half-man, half-wolf rises up, snarling and goes looking for blood. Yes, we all know the power of the werewolf. After the end of the European witch trials, an intense interest in the werewolf developed in folklore tales and evolved to become the stuff of horror stories. Fairly consistently since then, the wolfman or lichen has featured regularly in tales, both oral and written. Of course, during the last 100 years, there have been many hugely popular movies, including American Werewolf in London, and themes in books such as the recent Twilight Saga. The werewolf is a kind of shapeshifter, but one that has traditionally had little control over his wildness. In a way, an inner battle between civilization and wild animal nature fights inside the one body. The vitality, strength, and freedom of the animal versus the reason, control and intellect of the man. Which one, though, is the dominant force? What is the healthy balance between our animal nature? One that is wild, free, and connected to nature, and our radically civilized humanness separate from or dominant over nature. The werewolf asks us to consider this balance and to delve into our own ideas of wildness, independence, and custodianship of the planet. When is the last time you spent all day outside? When is the last time you threw your head back and howled at the moon? Do you quash the vitality and curiosity of your body and mind by sitting all day in front of a computer? The werewolf challenges you to weave a balance between nature and your own nature. I feel like by going out in nature is extremely healing. And I feel like that's how you're going to be able to tune into your ancestors, tune into the dead. Okay. And they're going to be able to give you the messages. We talk about midnight, the most magical hour of all. And I want to open that one up too, because I'm feeling called. So midnight, the most magical hour of all. The dark, it envelopes me. The witching hour awaits. True magic and enchantment and spells that change fate. I'm just going to read the message. Allow yourself to relax into the benevolent darkness of midnight. You may feel this is your darkest hour, but know that the light will return again. The dawn always follows the darkest night. Know, too, that it is important to recognize that we all have darkness within us, just as we have light. And this isn't something to hide from. I feel like a lot of you guys are just overly stimulated by being on social media, by constantly being on your cell phone, by always being on the computer. You are so distracted by all the things that are going on in the world that you need to get back to your human nature. Human nature was never made to be so overly stimulated by all of these outside distractions. It's time for you to get back to the simpler times of life. I want to read the De los Muertos. Sorry. Okay. I'm not going to read the whole message. I'm just going to read. Acknowledging that death is a natural process that will enter everyone's life at some time, and that perhaps until then we can choose to be life affirming, takes away much of the fear. Take a light approach to a situation initially, and it may work out better. If you're holding on to something that does not serve you any longer, in particular, material things, simplify and let it go. So, we are in Scorpio season right now. Obviously, that's why I'm using this Halloween deck, okay? Scorpio season is asking you to let something die so that something new can begin, okay? Uh, as humans, we want to know, well, what is going to take its place if we let this thing die? And Spirit says, trust me. The universe says, trust me. I know what you want, but I also know what you need. So you're going to have faith in the universe at this time. And in the meantime, get back out into nature. If for those of you who have lost a job or a relationship, it's time to get back to the simpler things in life. Okay. So for some of you, you are going through a death and rebirth process, but that's all part of Scorpio. This is like the phoenix rising from the ashes. So others of you, this is talking about by going out in nature. Maybe it's time for you to make your own medicines. Okay. If you're going through like some type of a healing process when it comes to your health, then maybe instead of going, towards pharmaceuticals and all that stuff, maybe it's time for you to start thinking about other measures in order to help you heal. Okay. Herbs were here long before pharmaceuticals were ever here. So they call herbology, kinesiology, using supplements, basically using the earth as an alternative method or alternative medicine. No, it's the medicine. The alternative medicines are your pharmaceuticals. This has been around since the test of time. We didn't have pharmacists back in the olden days. We had witches, is what they called them, which were people who actually healed you using the earth. So, for those of you who have tried everything else, I think it's time for you to try the real method and speak to a naturopath, to speak to an herbologist or whatever they call naturopathist or kinesiologist, because your days are numbered if you continue to use pharmaceuticals. You're gonna, at this point in our lives, they want us to be on one pharmaceutical for every 10 years we're alive. So I'm 46. I should be on 4, almost going on 5 pharmaceuticals at this time. How old are you? And how many pharmaceuticals are you on? Keep that in mind. What else do we have for this? I'm going to use the Moonology deck. What else do we have for this, Spirit? Huh. You are giving away your power. That one wanted to come out. You are a badass. Act like it. I don't know why that wanted to come out, but it did. So I'm going to take it. All right. So what do we got here, Spirit, for the Moonology? Spirit, what messages do we have to clarify? All right. What do we got here? Adjustments are required. So that's what we're talking about. It's time for a lot of you guys to adjust your way of thinking. Okay. in order for you to be able to heal from whatever is going on in your life. If you went through a breakup, you gotta heal. If you went through a job loss, you gotta heal. It's time for you to adjust. Adjust the way that you've been thinking about whatever is happening in your life. What else do we have? Okay. Acceptance and equality. The Lady de los Muertos. It says communication is key. So I think for some of you, this is about once you've made the adjustments, the the information that you require is on its way in. But when I look at that death card, which is kind of what it is, it's like a death and rebirth cycle. Now tell the universe what you want. Not what you don't want, what you want. Because we're still in the energy of that new moon in Libra. We just had it only a couple of days ago. So what else do we have here? Show the world the real you, baby. This is about full authenticity. But this is also detachment. Aquarius is about detaching. Bottom of the deck. Nothing will come of this situation. I want to read that card. The void off course moon. Oh, there it is. Okay. In a form of astrology known as horary, where an astrological chart is cast according to when the question is asked and decoded, a void off course moon means nothing will come of this matter, or this situation will bear no fruit. This may or may not be good news, depending on what you're asking. For example, if you were worried about something, whatever it was, this card can be taken as a sign that there is nothing to worry about. However, if you're asking about a new project of any kind, including a new relationship, it's a sign to adjust your expectations. Adjustments are required. Or change things so that you get a different outcome. Remember, the cards can only predict what you are currently creating, and you can change that with both your behavior and your beliefs. Attuning to the moon, it says, I trust in my highest good. Additional meanings for the card is the chance of something are diminishing. Something better may be around the corner. Believe that you will get what you need. Surrender to the divine and take time out, meditate and contemplate. That's why I'm telling you, like, get back into nature. It's time for you. It's like a reset for all of us. That's what Scorpio is. It's like this reset. The teaching says the main definition of a void off course moon is that when the moon won't make any major connection with any of the planets until she enters the next sign. The best thing you can do when you get this card is to chant the Sanskrit words Om Namo Narayani, which means I surrender to the divine. A void off course moon is time to just be. Okay, so if you just walked out of a relationship, if you just walked out of a job or got fired from a job, doesn't fucking matter, then this is just an opportunity for you to just be for a moment. Reconnect with your own spirit. You're going through a massive death and rebirth process. Not only do we have the sun in Scorpio, we also have Mercury in Scorpio as well. So this is prime time for us to literally just go within, delve deep, delve into our spiritual practices, anything to do with the esoteric. Maybe you need to sit down and watch, all the series of Twilight for, again, and just be. Nothing wrong with that. I think that people are, if they're not working, they feel like they're not doing anything, and therefore they are really hard on themselves. And that's what Spirit is saying is like, no, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. This is like the coffee phase right now. And it's like, okay, have you ever been to a place when you're looking at new perfumes or colognes. And if you keep smelling all these perfumes, eventually they just start smelling the same. So what do they give you? They give you a little jar of coffee, coffee beans, and then you have to smell it in between to cleanse your palate, right? That's where you're at right now. This is an opportunity for you to just cleanse your palate and don't be so hard on yourself. This is actually really good time for you just to take a break, get some rest. Try not to be like the werewolf and attack everybody because you're going through some shit. Okay? Not the time, nor the place. So I want to pull some wisdom of the oracle. What else do we have here? What is the advice for all of this, Spirit? What advice do you have? We got loyal hearts. So, tap into your friends, get together with friends, get together, if you have a partner, go out on a date, just cleanse the spirit, just be in the here and now. Because listen, we talk about that red flag that's right above her head. And if you're running into something desperately, you're going to miss those red flags. Don't miss the red flags. So just be in the moment, be present, be in the here and now. Because otherwise, you're just going to repeat patterns from the past. And for some of you, you're going to end up in a relationship that's just like the last person. And then you're going to have to deal with whatever unfinished business that you have. Bottom of the deck, co-create. Yeah, you're co-creating with spirit right now. Okay? So, plus, when you're running desperate, nothing's going to come of the situation. So say you try to jump into another job because you're running out of you're like running into it out of desperation. You're going to end up right back where you were because you're not getting a job for the sake of doing something that you love. You're getting another job based on the fact that you're being hard on yourself and you feel like a loser. So you're going to end up having to repeat some past mistakes. Same thing with a relationship. If you go to the grocery store hungry, you're going to pick out a lot of poison, a lot of processed foods, and a lot of bullshit. Otherwise, you're going to be stopping by every goddamn McDonald's and Wendy's and, Popeyes and Chick-fil-A, which is just full of fucking chemicals, right? Well, same thing with a relationship. You jump into a new relationship because you're fucking desperate and you need somebody else to validate you. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to end up in the same situation with just a different player in the game. Same thing when you're sick. You are so fucking desperate because you can have 99 problems, but when you're sick, you only have one. So what are you going to do? You're going to be more apt to listening to all these bullshit excuses from the doctor as to why you need to take all these pharmaceuticals and why they need to do biopsies and why do they need to run all these tests. And it's because you didn't get a handle on your health before you got sick. You didn't take time off of work. You just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. If you don't take time for your wellness, you're going to be taking time for your illness. Okay? And that's when you're going to have all kinds more issues that you're going to have to clean up. Because when you're on these pharmaceuticals, you're not just having to heal from whatever ails you. Now you got to heal from all the side effects of all the pharmaceuticals that just put a Band-Aid on this situation. And if you would have taken like root extracts and root, it gets to the root of the issue. It may take a little longer for you to heal, but it's also going to last longer. Whereas you take these pharmaceuticals and what are you doing? You're putting a Band-Aid on it. And that's why you have to take it every day. Because you're not actually healing. You're just putting a Band-Aid on the issue. The issue's still there. And everybody says, well, my insurance won't pay for that. You damn right they won't. Because they know that it works. And they'll tell you that it's not FDA approved. Well, look at all the other, or it's CDC approved or whatever. Guess what? Everything that has been proven to be poison. Get your facts straight. It's time for you guys to do your own research. And it's time for you guys to take your health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health into your own hands and stop expecting everyone else to save you. I love you guys all so much. If you're interested in a personal reading, thefootstepstopeace.com. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know how this reading resonates with you guys. I love you all so much, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.